Welcome back to another episode of Journey to Happiness. So, I'm excited to be back and recording this episode because I want to talk about money and money mindset. So, I'm sure many people might be thinking, what does that have to do with the journey to happiness, right? Because I know a lot of people are thinking, like, well, money doesn't buy happiness, and that's true, it doesn't, right? I mean, there's a lot more that goes along into happiness. But I also want to debunk this whole belief that that we can't talk about money, that money has to be a hush hush, that money isn't a good tool that can help us live a life that we want to live, right? I want to debunk this because I feel like so many people are just afraid to talk about money, right? And I think working on a money mindset is crucial to being able to make and sustain afford, like your income, right? Your money. And I just think it's really important to talk about because I have had a terrible money mindset, as many people I know have. So going back a little bit, so this is the thing. We grow up and we think, oh, money is evil. We hear things when we're little. We hear, money doesn't grow on trees. We hear money's not spiritual. Money is the root of all evil, which that is a misquote. It is actually the love of money is the root of all evil. That is what the Bible says. So all of these things go along into, our subconscious minds when we're little. We grow up with these terrible money mindsets. So a little bit about me is I didn't even understand that I had a poor money mindset. I literally used to say all the time, I'm just bad with money. I'm just bad with money. So of course, what would the universe do? The universe was like, okay, your wish is my command. You're bad with money. So let's just make this true. So it wasn't just me overspending, but it was also like I could save a little bit of money. I would get a little bit of money saved up. And then something in my life would go wrong. So my car would break down. I would have a huge bill that would come in the mail that I wasn't expecting. Like always something that would happen that would take all the money that I had saved up. So it wasn't until a few years back that I really started understanding what money mindset was. I had been on a personal development journey for a little bit, but I wasn't really like focusing on money or anything like that. And so years ago, back in my 20s, I worked as a waitress and I was raising, my kids as a single mom. And I got a lot of government assistance. So, my housing, my food, stuff like that was paid for. I just, and I was doing pretty well. Then I went to nursing school, decided I would become a nurse. There's always going to be a job as job security. I fell in love with the profession. And, I made some money. And but I was always living paycheck to paycheck. And, so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go to this other job. It's time to advance myself, go to another job, make more money, so on and so on and so on. Kept happening, right? But I still was just living paycheck to paycheck. For whatever reason, I couldn't seem to hold on to this money. It just was disappearing out of my pocket. I decided to become a travel nurse. So, okay, I'm going to make really good money now, right? I'm going to be in the six figures. Like everything's going to be great. I'm going to make all this money and I'm not going to be living like this anymore. Nope, wasn't the case. Making six figures, still money just disappearing left and right. I mean, I was either overspending or, like I said, things would happen in my life that would, just like an emergency would happen and I would have to spend anything that I had saved up. It was just a continuous cycle. And I was constantly saying, I'm just really bad with money and not understanding that my words were spells. And I was telling the universe, hey, this is what's happening. So yeah, make it true, right? So backing up to my childhood, so this is where things get a little tricky for me. And this is why I'm making this episode, because I'm sure if this is the case for me, there's probably other people out there going through this. So for me, so after I had been on this personal development journey for a while, I decided I'm going to start trying to work on my money mindset. So I start doing this and I start, looking at all the books. I start delving into all the courses, listening to all the podcasts about money. And one of the things I found was nobody was speaking to my situation. Nobody. And I'm talking like the best of the best people out there who talk about money. None of them. I mean, even the likes of Tony Robbins, none of them were talking to my situation because all of them were talking about situations of where, oh, when you're growing up and your parents are fighting about money, or you hear words like we can't afford that, or you hear words like money doesn't grow on trees, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, none of that applies to me. None of it. So my situation growing up, money wasn't talked about. Like I don't have any negative thoughts about money from my childhood at all because it was just literally never talked about. It was, which is probably part of it, right? It's probably part of the thing that got in my subconscious brain, but we'll go into that because I think I was like, I do remember one thing about money, and I think I was a little bit older, and it was like, I don't know if I asked my mom or somebody asked my mom. It was after she started working. She didn't start working until I was like in junior high, but I remember asking about how much she made, and that was like a no-no. You did not talk to people about what they made. Like it was so hush hush. So I didn't even know about money. Like honestly, the only things I can really go back to my childhood and think about was I do know that I kind of grew up in a house where the father was making all of the money and the woman was staying home with the children. And so and the man was the one supporting everybody. So I do know that that is what was modeled for me because I remember growing up like that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and have a husband who would go out and make all the money. Like I never even thought about myself as doing that as a young child because that's not what was being modeled to me. Like my mom just didn't work until she finally went back to college when I was like later elementary years, you know? But honestly, like I had everything I wanted. Like money just we didn't have much. I know now that we actually were on the lower class. Like we I mean the whole town like where I grew up was all kind of like that, but I didn't know it. Like I had the best Christmases. I mean, I got so many presents. I would get like 30 presents every Christmas. It was everything I always wanted. You know, I grew up like I had nice clothes. I had the food I needed. I had a roof over my head. Like I had things. And when I wanted things, you know, ice cream truck would come along. Like, yeah, I got to go get ice cream. You know, I just never thought that we didn't have like money. But I mean, we really didn't, but I just never knew it. So it was just never talked about. So for me, I'm always like, where does my money lack mindset come from? Like, why can't I hold on to money? Because, you know, I didn't have these issues as a child. But what I can tell you, and this is what I've kind of boiled it down to for myself, I think, is because I did have nice things as a child, a lot of the kids were, for lack of better terms, because I really don't like the word, but I'm going to use it, they were jealous. They were very jealous. And I remember my toys getting broke. I remember this amazing baby doll that was like the first of its kind coming out, and I got it for Christmas, and it was all the rage. My mom had to search high and low to even find this doll because everybody wanted it, and I got it for Christmas. I remember taking it to school, and I remember a girl ripping the head off of it. And it was devastating. Like that was my friend. That doll was my friend. And this girl just ripped the head off of it because she was pissed, you know, because I had this amazing, like, you know, whatever. So I think that my money mindset really comes from that. I think for me, like I don't have trouble making money. I never really have. I can make money. Like it's not hard for me. But I think I had trouble keeping it because in my mind, I believed that if I had nice things, then somebody was going to try to take them from me and people were going to be upset with me and they were going to get mad. So I had to constantly just get rid of all the money so that nobody would want to take it from me. And I feel like none of the money mindset coaches really talk about this. They don't really go into how to change this aspect. Because it's most of the coaches I hear talk about, you know, growing up in a house where money was an issue, where children heard things about money and all this stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't apply to me. So it's one reason I'm making this podcast because I'm like, if I dealt with this type of stuff, then maybe somebody else out there also dealt with it, you know? And so I don't have a whole bunch of tips here because I'm honestly still learning. I have gotten to a point now where it doesn't leave my bank account as soon as it gets there. Like I am able to hold on to it a little bit more, but it's still not a whole bunch. Like I should be able to save more than I have, and I'm still working on it. But it's actually coming along since I have started feeling happy with myself. And this last year, when I really started delving into that, I've noticed that the money is also staying around me. So again, it's just the vibration of me being peaceful and happy is like causing the money to, and you know, money's just a vibration. It's just a tool, right? It's just a vibration. And I do believe that money in the right hands with the right people can do amazing, amazing things. And so I like to talk about money, right? And I like to have money. And I really started doing so some of the things I have started to do, I've started paying attention to my bank account a lot more. Before I was afraid. I was afraid to even look at my bank account because it was just always anxiety because I would look in there and I would think I had more than I had, and I would look in there and I wouldn't. So that's a big thing. The other thing that I'm trying to implement, I haven't been super good at this yet, but I'm trying, is only spending cash, like getting cash out of the bank and only spending cash except for when I'm paying bills. Now, I have, like I said, I've done this before, but I haven't been super consistent with this one because it's honestly just a lot easier to swipe my card. Like when use cash, they have to hand me the cash back, and then I have all this change, and I have to organize the cash because I like my cash to be organized, and then I have to put it in my purse, and it just is more complicated than just swiping my card. But that's the issue because when we swipe a card, we're not really seeing you're not really seeing the money disappearing, right? It's just a card. It's so fucking easy to swipe that card. Whereas when you see cash and you actually see it disappear, it's a little bit different, right? So that's something I am really trying to implement now. Other things I have had tried to implement is I just say affirmations about money all the time. Like I've told myself over and over that I am safe to be wildly wealthy. I am safe to be wealthy. Like it's fine. I always say, I go to the store and spend a big chunk of money at the grocery store or something, like there's always more where that came from. There's just always more. And I feel, when I do visualizations and stuff, I feel into the energy of abundance. I look around me and I see how much abundance there is around me. Like I picture money, I picture, my family, I picture love. I think about all the money that's in my house right now. Like even if it's not like cold hard cash, but just like the money that's that's around me, like the money of my clothes, of my table, of my couch, my love seat, like my TV, like my kids game consoles, our phones. We all have iPhones, like all of that stuff. Like there's such an abundance of it, right? And so those are just some things that I've tried to work on, and it's starting to work. It's slowly but surely, right? Yeah, so I felt like really called to make this episode up right now because it's something that I'm still been working on, and it's something I'm actually listening to the secret or Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, I think it's called. I don't know, that's a book. Um, and I've been listening to that too. And again, he doesn't really talk about, the situations that I had growing up. Like he does talk about incident situations, but it's like not to that extent. So I'm like, why does nobody else fucking talk about like it's actually starting to piss me off. Like, why does nobody else talk? Like, why does it always have to be like, oh, my parents were fighting about money, or oh, we just were really poor and I knew we were really poor, these different things. Like, why does nobody talk about like my kind of situation? And there's nobody, like, I felt like there was nobody to help me because nobody can relate so far in the coaching world. So I was like, fuck it. Why don't I make a podcast about it? Maybe somebody out there is going to resonate. And even though I don't have a whole bunch of tips because I'm still working on it, we can be in this together, right? We can help each other. And so just I think it's just really cool when you can resonate with somebody who's kind of had similar experiences with you. And I know that there's probably people out there who have had similar experiences. And so and as I said before, some people might be wondering what this has to do with the journey to happiness, but I had announced in my very first episode it would be multiple different topics. I don't think I really mentioned money, but I did say it would be multiple different topics. And I think this does go along with it because when you have a vibration of happiness and when you have a vibration of peace and just joyfulness, then money will start to flow your way. And I firmly believe that. And I am starting to see that reflection from the outside now. Like now that I feel truly happy on the inside, I'm starting to see money wanting to hang around me a lot more than it used to. So that is the episode for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a review. If you like this, it will help more people find these episodes and hopefully serve a lot more people. So until next time, I hope you have a beautiful day. Mwah.